Hi there, today in this video we are doing algebraic indices. So to start with algebraic indices, I'm going to first introduce the laws of indices, and the first one is if we have a power m times a power n, which means that if the bases are the same and there's a multiply sign between the bases, so we're going to add the powers, which is m plus n. The second is a power m divide a power n. If the bases are the same, which is a at the moment, and there's a divide sign in between, it means we minus the powers. The third is the power to the power, which means that if you've got two powers written together, it means you're going to multiply the powers together. The rule 4 is if any base has got a power 0, it would be equals to 1. And the rule 5 is if you have sum written with the negative power, which is minus m, that can be written as 1 over a power m. So you can write down the negative powers in the positive form by flipping the fraction. Okay, now what we are doing in this lesson is, with respect to all the 5 rules of indices, I am doing 3 questions for each rule, starting from the easy, going to the harder one. So there's going to be the first one with the easy, the second to be like medium, and the third to be the harder one. So to begin with the first one, which is the first rule, to start with the first one, so I'm going to write it down here now, rule 1. So the recap of the rule 1 is a power m times a power n, which means bases same, powers will be added together if there's a multiply sign in between. Now, to start with the first example of the first one, which is going to be, let's say if we have x power 3 times x power 4. Now, we can see that we have got the same basis, which is x at the moment. And between the bases, there is a multiply sign. So what we're going to do with the powers is we're going to add the powers together. So it's going to be now x power 3 plus 4. And that would be equals to 7. To do the next one now, if we have got 4c times 2c power 5. Now, how this is different to the first one is, in the first one, we clearly can see that there's no number there. It's just we have got the x variables. If you look to the second one now, we have got the numbers as well as the variables. So whenever you have a situation where you have the numbers and the variables are together, you simplify the numbers first. So what I see at the moment, there is a 4, there's a 2, you multiply them together would be 8. With c, now there is no power on c, so would be 1. To simplify that, we're going to apply the laws of indices. So we know that the bases are the same. There's a multiply sign, so we're going to add the powers. The simplification of that would be going back to 8c power 6. Doing another example. So now we are having 2pq squared times 5p squared q times 3pqq. All right. Here we see that we have got 3 terms, and between all the 3 terms, there is a multiplication sign in between them. The first thing I'm going to do is, where I see that there is no power written in, means is a power 1 here, and same with the q, because no power written in here, it means that is a power 1 with q. Again, as I said that before, whenever we have got the number and the variables together, so we're going to start by simplifying the numbers first. To do with the numbers, what do I see that we have a number 2 times 5 times 3. I multiply all the numbers together. Then we have got a variable p. With p variable, we can see that the bases are the same and between is a multiply sign. So I'm going to add the powers, whatever the powers on p would be. So it would be 1 plus 2 plus 3. Now I'm going to write down my next variable, which is q, and add all the powers written on q. So it would be 2 plus 3 plus 1. Now we have the next step of the simplification. So to do with the simplification, we're going to multiply the numbers first. So when we multiply the number first, it's going to be 2 times 5 times 3. So 2 times 5 is a 10. 10 times 3 is 30. So you're having 30 here. Now simplifying the power of p's, you add the powers, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 would be 6. And to simplify the power of q, you have got 2 plus 3 plus 1. So now you're going to write down the simplification, but I'll move this away from here. Okay, so what we are having is now the q variable, which is here, and adding the powers would be 6. So this is the simplification of the third one. Now, going on to the next rule, which is a rule 2, I'm going to write down rule 2 right on the top so you can easily like remember it. So the rule 2 is if you have got a base a with the power m and there's a divide sign between another one, which is a power n, then we take away the powers. Okay. So this is the rule 2. Now again, I'm doing the same thing, which I'll be doing 3 questions on the rule 2, starting from the easy one, going to the harder one. So to begin with the first one, we have y power 7 times, it's divide actually, y power 2. Now we see that the bases are the same. There's a divide sign. So what we're going to do with the powers is we're going to take away the powers. So 7 take away 2 and you'll be having 7 take away 2 would be 5. Now to do the next one now, which is 6 x power 4 divide 2x squared. Okay, now again, we have got the numbers as well as the variable in here in the second one. We're going to do the same thing, what we discussed before, to do with the numbers first and then do with the variables. Another way we can write down this is 6x power 4 over 2x squared. So if you have got a divide sign written as a divide symbol, or if you have written in a fraction form, which still means the divide, so you can do the same thing with that. To begin with the numbers, you see that 2 and 6 are the two numbers. Can you simplify them together? To simplify them together, we know that this 2 and 6, they both goes in a 2 times table. So you divide the top and the bottom by 2. When you divide the top and the bottom by 2, you would have 3 in the numerator with x power 4, and you'll be having 1, which you don't need to write down, and there's a x power 2 in the denominator. Now we have to simplify the variables. To simplify the variables now, we keep the 3 as same. We know that there is a divide sign, so divide means we take away the powers. So the first power we are having is 4 and the other one is 2. We minus them together and this would be 3x power 2. All right, now I'm going to show you the last one, which is 2t power 3 times 6 t power 5 over, and you'll be having 3t power 2. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing, but what I see that now we have got the numerator and there's a denominator as well, where I can do the numerator and denominator separately first of all. So I'm going to begin with the numerator, simplifying the numerator. Now, what do I see that in the numerator, there's a multiplication sign in between. It means I have to go on to the rule 1. Where the rule 1 is, if there's a multiplication sign, it means we're going to add the powers. Now, the next step of the simplification, we do the same thing, where we're going to multiply the numbers first. So we are having a number 2 and 6, are going to multiply them together. Now, to do with the t variables, because we have got the same basis with the times sign between them, we're going to add the powers. Adding the powers would be 3 plus 5 on the top there. We are not doing anything with the denominator now, so we're going to keep it the same because denominator is already in its simplified form. There's more I can do to simplify the numerator. Because I've written 2 times 6 in the bracket, it means that we're going to multiply, which is going to be 12. To simplify the powers, 3 plus 5 is going to be 8, and there is 3t squared. Now, if you realize that, it's just going back onto the second one, which we discussed just above here. Now, we are having the numbers as well as the t variables. I'm going to start with the numbers first. So how many 3 makes 12 is 4. It means they both goes in a 3 times table. Because they both can go in a 3 times table, so it would be simplified to 4. Now, there's t power 8 with a divide and t squared. It means whenever is a divide sign, we do minus the powers. So I'm going to write down t with the power 8 take away 2. We can simplify the powers, so it would be 4t and 8 take away 2 makes 6. So this is what is the simplified form of number 3. Okay, we have done the rule 1 and rule 2. Now I'm going on to the rule 3. I say that rule 3 is a power with a power on it. So which means that I'm going to write it down here. So rule 3 is basically when we have got the two powers written together. So we have got a power m and we are having a power n. I'm going to write it down properly. So we have got the power m and we have got the power n. So what we do, we multiply the powers together to simplify these indices. I'm going to start with the first one now, which is 3x squared and to the power of 4. Now, what do I see that there is a bracket. The whole bracket is having a power 4. And inside the bracket, we are having two terms. So what are the two terms we are having is 3 and x squared. So it means that this power 4 will go with both the terms inside the bracket. Now, how we're going to just like write it down, it would be 3 will go with the power 4 times x squared will go with the power 4 as well. Now here we need to do the simplification. So 3 power 4, which means that 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. You write down 3 4 times. And then there's x. And we say that whenever we have got written in this form, this will go to the rule 3. What we're going to do is we multiply the powers together. So whatever the numbers we are having, which is 2 and 4 at the moment, we're going to multiply them together. The next step of the simplification would be when you multiply 3, 3, 3 and 3, you'll come out with 81 and the power simplification would be 8. All right, now I'm doing the next one. With the next one, this is 3a squared and then we are having 2b power 3 squared. Now, it is different to the first one because the first one was written as like only in the numerator form. But the second one is written in a fraction form with the whole power 2. How we're going to do these sort of questions is, this power 2 will go with the numerator as well as with the denominator. I'm going to split them. So I'm going to write down separately the numerator, which is 3a squared with the whole power 2, and the denominator, which is 2b cubed power 2. We're going to do the step of simplification. So we know that this power 2 will go with both the terms inside the bracket. We can write it down 3 power 2, which is 3 squared. There's a multiply sign, and then a squared is having a power 2. We're going to do the same thing in the denominator. There's a 2 outside the bracket, which means that this square will go with 2 as well as with b cubed. I'm going to first write them separately, which is 2 power 2 times b cubed with the power of 2. Now is the step where you have to do the simplification. So to start with the simplification of 3 squared, which means that 3 times 3 and 3 times 3 is a 9. A, 2 and 2. Because they are written in this form, it means we can multiply the powers together. So when we multiply the powers together, I'll just write down a multiplication sign here. When we multiply the powers together, we'll get 4 as a power. Now the denominator is going to be now, we do the square of 2. So 2 squared is going to be 4. And to simplify the powers on b, we can write them together, which is this thing. Again, it is written in the form where we can multiply them together. And 3 times 2 is 6. Once we get to the final stage of the simplification, we just need to check before saying that this is the most simplified form to see that can we simplify it more. So you look to the number 9 and 4, they don't both go in the same times table. Then you look to the variables a and b. Because they are the different variables, you can't simplify them anymore. So this is the simplified answer. To do the third one, which is like little more harder. So I'm going to write down the question first of all, which is we have having 2 x power 4 y power 5 is the numerator. Then we are having 3xy cubed with the whole power 3. I'm going to start doing the same thing where I have to separate the numerator and the denominator. So no matter what do we have on the top or the bottom, we separate them together by using the power of what we have been given. So that's 2 x power 4, y power 5 having the whole power 3 outside the bracket. Same I'm going to do in the denominator, which is 3xy power 3, and there's a whole power 3 outside the bracket. Now, this step is very important because this step will be just giving the power 3 to each of the term. So this can be written as 2 to the power of 3. There's a multiply sign in between. Then we are having x4 having a power 3. Then we are having a y5 having power 3. Same thing I'll be doing with the denominator now, where I'll be giving the power 3 to each of the term written inside the bracket. To begin with the first one, we are having 3 to the power of 3. Then we are having just x with the power of 3. And then we are having y cubed with the power of 3. Now we are to the last step where we have to just simplify and write down the answer. So to go on to the last step, you do first of all, what's 2 power 3 is? 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Then we are having x, 4 times 3 would be 12 because we multiply them together. Same we do with the y variable, y powers as well, which is 5 times 3 is 15. Now we're going to simplify the denominator. So 3 cubed means you do 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Then because there's no power on x is a 1. And when you multiply them together, so it would be x power 3. To do the simplification of the y power would be 3 times 3 would be 9. As I said that once we'll be done with the numerator and the denominator separately, we need to make sure before saying that this is the answer that there's no more we can do to simplify it. Now I'm going to start with the numbers first, looking to the numbers 8 and 27. 8 and 27 does not go in any same times table. So this is already in the simplified form. We're going to keep them the same. So this would be here, which is 8 over 27. Now we're going to go on the x variable because we have got the x variable on the top and we are having the x variable in the denominator. This line indicates divide. So it means whatever the powers are, we're going to minus the power. So we'll be writing 12 take away 3. On the y variables, we have got like 15 and 9. We minus them together would be 15 and 9 would be here. To write down the final answer, what you have to do is you write down 8 over 27. Then the x after the simplification of the power would be this thing, which is 12 take away 3, and that's 9. To do with the simplification of the y power, we are having 15 take away 9, which is here, and 15 take away 9 makes 6. Now, this is our more simplified form. Going on to the next rule, which is the rule 4. All right, so now this is the rule 4 where we says that any variable number, anything having a power 0, that would be equals to 0. So I'm writing down the rule 4, a power 0 equals to 1. No matters what is the variable here. So far, the number power is 0, then you say that the whole thing would be equals to 1. I'm going to start with a very basic example. So let's say if we are having 2000 power 0, 2000 is such a big number, but because we are having a power 0 on it, that would be equals to 1. Same in this way, if we have got some variable, I'll do another example here on the side. So if you have even a variable which is maybe x power 0. We don't know what x is, but so far x power 0, there is a power 0, so that would be equals to 1. Now, to do the next one now, I'm going to show you now x power 7, y squared, whole thing power 0. Again, as I said, no matters what do we have inside the bracket. So far, the whole thing is having a power 0. The final simplified answer would be 1. So let's say if you have got like even the terms written in a fraction form, maybe 2x squared y over xy power 0. Because now it's written in a fraction form, but it's not changing anything to my answer, and it would still be a 1. Going on to the next rule, where we have got the powers written in a positive fraction or a negative fraction form, we're going to have a look to. rule 5 now. So looking to the rule 5 now, if we have got some written as a negative power, we can change it into the positive form by flipping the fraction. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples on it, where I'm taking the power to be, I'm going to change it a little bit here. So the denominator is basically, because I say that we can change the power to the positive, and the positive power would be written as a power m here. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you some examples where I'm taking different powers, maybe positive power, fraction power, negative fractional power. So I'm going to show you 3 different examples with taking 3 different powers on them. To begin with the first one, square root of 16 x power 4 y power 6. Okay, so what's mean by the square root? If you see square root anywhere, it means that the whole thing is having a power half. Remember that. So this can be rewrite in the form of 16 x power 4 y power 6 and the whole bracket having a power half because of the square root. We do the same thing again where we say that whatever the power is, we're going to give that to each of the term. So here I'm giving this power half to 16 and to x power 4 and to y power 6. So this power half will go to each of the term present inside the bracket. To begin with the first one, I'm going to write down 16 is having a power half. There's a multiply sign. Then we are having x4 power half. And then we are having y6 power half. Now, the next step is to simplify them. So to start with the first one, as I said, square root means a power half. So what's the square root of 16 is? The square root of 16 is 4. Then to do with 4 times a half, so I'll do that on the side. If you're having 4 times a half, you do 4 over 2, which is same as the half of 4 is a 2, so you will get the power, the x power would be square on it. Now to do the next one, which is the y variable, if you do 6 times half, so you would get 6 times half here, and you'll get half of 6 is a 3. So it means the power on y you'll be having would be 3. So whenever you're having a power written in a fraction form, you multiply 4 times a half. So we are applying the rule 3 here, where we say that whatever the power is written in this form, we multiply them together. Going on to the next one now. So we have got the next one, which is 32 x power 10, and then y power minus 5, and the whole thing is having a power minus 1 over 5. Okay, now we see that this time we are having a power in the negative form. So what we're going to do is now we'll be using the rule 5 to changing the power into the written in the positive form. So how we can change the power written in the positive form is just flipping the fraction, writing it down in the fraction form now. So we'll be having now 1 over 32 x power 10 y power minus 5, and now the whole power, instead of its minus 5, now it's 1 over 5. Again, we'll be following the same thing where I say that we're going to give the power 1 over 5 to each of the term inside the bracket. So this power 1 over 5 will go with 32, then with 10, then with minus 5. How we're going to write down this step would be, we are having 32 and that's having a power 1/5. There's a multiply sign in between, then x power 10 having a power 1/5, and then y power minus 5 having a power 1/5. We'll do the step of simplification now. So this is 1 over 32 here with the power of 1/5. So now we need to think that how we can write down this 132 power 1/5 as in the simplified form. So we know that this can be written as in the form of 2, because 2 power 5 makes a 32. So here I'm going to show you 2 power 5 makes 32. So if we have got 32 to the power of 1/5, which means that would be equals to 2. We're going to do now, writing it down in the simplified form after this step. So 1/5, 32 having a power 1/5 would be equals to 2. Then we have got the x variable. So this means times. So 10 times 1/5 would be 2. And then you're having a y variable. So you have got 5 and 5. So it would be 5 times 1/5 would be just power minus 1. You can leave your answer like this, or because we see that this is the only variable with the negative power. So we try to write it down written with the positive power. So to change this in the positive, again, we're going to apply the rule 5 where we say that we need to flip the fraction. And this can be written as then y over 2x squared. We didn't write down the power 1 anymore because if anything does not have a power, it means it is 1. So there's no need to write down 1 as a power then. So here, this is a lesson where we discuss the laws of indices. I've showed you a few examples on each of the rule, which is from rule 1 to rule 5.